Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Blue Tron, back with a very special episode of 10-Minute Testing. Now today, we're looking at a deck that is not for Advanced, God no, but for Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh's War of the Worthless format. Now if you're not familiar with that series, what's wrong with you? It's great. I mean, basically, he looks at some of the absolute worst YGO archetypes ever made, diagnoses what's wrong with them. Anyway, he's running a tournament for all these awful archetypes with a couple of stipulations. There's this adjusted ban list, there's a rule that you play at least 16 of their cards, and there's a rule that your deck's game plan or win condition has to be something the deck was designed to do. So with that in mind, I set out to see if I could figure out a way to submit one of my favorite trash decks of all time and a household name among worthless decks, Arcana Force. So let's jump into deck edit and marvel at my stupidity. So here's the list. Now, before you get all judgmental on me, keep in mind I do not intend to ever face a single Zodiac, Metal Foe, or Alphabetical Union monster. This deck is meant to thrive in a format where power players include, like Vehicleroids and Nordic, so quit laughing. Now, as always, I'll give you a breakdown of the cards, but first I'll talk to you about what Arcana Force is, what the deck is trying to do, and what each of these atrocious cards does. So first, for those of you who don't know, Arcana Force is an archetype of cards released in Light of Destruction that all rely on coin flips. These have always held a little place in my heart, because Light of Destruction was the first pre-release I ever went to, and I spent the whole time trying to snag as many of these bad boys as I could off of unsuspecting duelists who didn't know how painfully OP the archetype was. Unfortunately, they suffer from the same problem as the Joust cards from Hearthstone. They have to be balanced around hitting the flip, so if you miss, they're absolutely awful. Some of them like self-destruct, some of them switch control, and a lot of them just lose you the game. To circumvent this, the archetype has a field spell that always gets you the right flip, but you only get to use it until your next standby phase when, surprise, surprise, you gotta flip a coin to see if it still works. So we're trying to take this god-awful archetype and give it a streamlined game plan. Unfortunately, since there hasn't been like a super reliable win condition and every appearance of Arcana Force in the last 10 years has involved some gimmicky the world combo, we don't really have like a wealth of knowledge to draw upon. Because we don't have another option, we're gonna have to attack to win, and our best attackers are the World and Light Ruler. The World is the most famous of the Arcana Force and also the stand of Dio Brando. When it flips heads, you can send 2 monsters you control to the graveyard and take another turn. This makes it really easy to beat over the lack of floaters in the format and deal boatloads of damage. Our other win condition is the Light Ruler. His effect allows him to add a card from our graveyard to our hand, so by recurring the field spell, the Light Ruler allows us to never have to flip a coin again. The rest of our cards represent the strongest of the Arcana tribe and should stall the game or muck the board up long enough that we assemble one of our win conditions. So let's get on to the list. First, we have 3 copies of the Light Ruler. This guy's alright. He special summons himself by sending 3 cards you control to the graveyard. Originally, I was attempting to use Scapegoats to cheese him out, but unfortunately, the Scapegoat tokens can't go to the graveyard. For some reason, they work with like Plasma, but not this because of the wording and send and all that. However, when we get him out, he allows us to recycle the field spell, play it over itself, so we don't even have to ever interact with the awful little coin flip mechanic. Next, we have Zawardo, the Ultimate Stand. If we use his effect, we get to take another turn, and there's only so many monsters he's going to have to beat through. Next, we have 3 copies of Silver Chariot Requiem. The Chariot seems pretty good, to be honest. His Tails effect flips control to your opponent, but his Heads effect allows him to steal any monster he destroys by battle, and he's got 1700 attack, so he can get over Don Zalugs. 3 copies of the Empress. One of the ways we're making Zawardo is if we flip heads, we can summon an Arcana Force from my hand whenever your opponent normal summons a monster. It also allows us to summon Fools in face-up defense in a world where we find space for Fools in this deck. 1 copy of the Emperor, I think, is this card. He gives all your guys 400 more attack if you flip heads, and I think they lose attack if you flip tails. I'm not too familiar with this card. I don't think I've ever summoned him, but we need to be playing 16 Arcana Forces, and this is a 4-star one we're not playing. 2 copies of Summoner Monk. This is kind of the best card in the deck. Fetches Chariot when we have the field spell, Empress when we don't, so we don't accidentally kill ourselves. Makes rank 4 plays, enables degenerate combos, etc. And 2 copies of Hecatrice. This searches Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, one of the main ways we're getting out the world. 3 copies of the Agent of... what is this card called? The Agent of Creation Venus. For those of you who don't remember the Agent of Creation Venus, she is a card that is only ever in unfair decks. Allows you to special summon 3 Mystical Shine Balls, which is our next 3 of from the deck. That's the 3 cards we're going to try and send for our Arcana Force Light Ruler. 1 copy of Honest, because we need a 3rd target for our next card, Ties of the Brethren. It also helps that Honest is a very good card. 3 copies of the Field Spell. The Field Spell obviously is very good. We need it or we lose. I don't think we can actually do anything without risking Catastrophe catastrophe if we actually have to flip coins. This isn't Pokemon. These flips matter. 3 copies of Terraforming. This is copies 4 and 6 of the best card in the deck. 1 copy of Dark Hole. It's Regeki. 3 Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. This lets us summon the world, a card that otherwise we have to Tribute Summon. 3 copies of Magical Mallet. This is a card I wasn't feeling great on, but we have Mystical Shine Balls, and having them in our hand really sucks. 1 copy of Bottomless. This is for Rafflesia, but I think it's actually pretty good where strike is limited and people are trying to summon like one big boss monster. It might be playable anyway. And then 1 copy of Warning, because I am degenerate. In the extra deck, we have a bunch of rank 4 stuff. We got Castell, 101, Rafflesia, Abyss Dweller, Rhapsody, and Berserk, because I expect a lot of busted graveyard shenanigans to happen this format, and 1 Hope, Harbinger, Titanic, Buster, Blaster in a world where we get out to the worlds. I don't expect this to happen ever, but hey, a boy can dream. Then we have a bunch of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries targets. I have, of course, Norden, Barbaroid for Roids, this guy for Nordic, this guy for, oh, Jesus Christ, what is this guy for? I assume Ally of Justice, since he has Ally of Justice in his name. 1 copy of Gen X Ally Axel. A Karakuri Shogun Bure. I don't know if this is actually going to be allowed, because the decks that play it would not use their original archetypes as the win conditions, so it may be just like fiat banned by the rule you have to win the way your deck was meant to win, but if it's not, it'll show up a lot, so I have it in here for now. 2 copies of, or 1 other Ally of Justice and 1 Formula Synchron, just general stuff I assume will try and make Formula Synchron shenanigans occur, and 1 King of the Feral Imps for all the reptile decks that are in the format. In the side, we have 1 Emptiness, 1 Cosmos, 1 D-Fissure, 3 Ghost Reaper, 3 Barrier Statue of the Heavens, searchable off of Summoner Monk, so I'm pretty happy about that. 3 Santa Claus. Now, Kaijus are banned, but I don't know if Kaiju effects are banned. We'll find out soon enough. And 3 Twin Twisters. So let's jump into the games and see if we can make something happen. So for our first match, we're up against Punk Rock Lee, a pretty vocal Twitch subscriber of mine and a pretty cool dude. We played a couple games of this format, and I think he walked away with everyone. He's playing Roids. It has like Fusion Conscription to find Cyber Dragons, a bunch of gold and silver gadgets to make rank 4s with Drill Roid, and what's the other good for? Steam Roid. I guess it's a beater at best. We've opened okay, but unfortunately it looks like our turn 1 play is get a Heads Chariot. That's not particularly good. I really would have liked to have done that turn 2, if anything. But we'll just end our turn. Our opponent is going to go ahead and Fusion Conscription for a Cyber Dragon, not summon it, instead hoping to embarrass us even further by making a Gear Gigant X and then going ahead and getting another gold gadget. He'll beat over my guy. At this point, I don't really have an out to Gear Gigant unless I draw like the World and I summon it off Valhalla, so I'm going to Magical Mallet, and what do you know, I get the exact 2 cards I Magical Mallet. Magical Mallet remaining the best card it has always been. He's going to go ahead and summon Gold Gadget, use it to summon Silver Gadget, use it to summon Drill Roid, and this is a lot of damage I'm about to take. I'm taking 23, 15, 16, and 17. So I figure I have 300 left. I can probably still make something happen if I'm very lucky. The top of my deck is a 2nd copy of Light Barrier, so seems unlikely, but thankfully my opponent puts me out of my misery and Gaga Cowboys me for game. So our second game is also against Punk Rock Lee. Sorry for giving you the same guy beating me twice. This time he is playing the Rainbow Neos deck. This is... God, I don't even know how to describe this. Look at these really good cards in here. Rainbow Dark Dragon, oh, the Neo-Spatian Dark Panther, but more importantly, there's a Melody of Awakening Dragon in here, so we may just get bungarondied. We get to go first once again. The impeccable turn 1 play. This time we're going to go for Empress because we have a target in hand. Not a very good target, you know. It's not like a 1700 is really going to do anything. He's going to go ahead and Melody of Awakening Dragon into a Rainbow Dark, and then Allure of Darkness, one of them away. He's going to activate Masked Hero Vion. That allows us to activate Empress's effect and get Chariot out. That would be better in a world where we weren't about to lose the game. He's going to go ahead and add a hero monster to his hand. He picks Elemental Hero Neos, and then, what do you know, there's the polymerization for Rainbow Neos. I'm not feeling particularly good. He's going to send this card to his graveyard to shuffle 2 cards I control back to my deck. Suddenly I'm taking 4,500 points of damage. It's not, you know, great, but maybe we can make it work. I have a Hecatrice, so I might set that and just pray for a miracle. He's going to go ahead and, of course, normal summon Neo-Spatian Grand Mole and beat me up for game. Now I know why this card is limited. Third game is up against Dark Scorpion Burglars. This is a deck that I feel pretty confident against, just because so many of the cards have low attack and don't particularly do anything. Seems kind of weak to Chariot, things like that. We'll start with Valhalla. Get us a copy of the World. World flips heads, then I activate the Light Barrier, you know. You always want to get that order down. He's going to go ahead and Allure of Darkness, getting rid of Cliff the Trap Remover. And then summoning Marauding Captain, using Marauding Captain's effect to summon a Chick the Yellow and going into Dante. Now, Dante can't get over the world, but I'm okay with it. And oh my god, it's Dad in the year 2015. Thankfully, I do play a Bottomless, so I'll Bottomless that guy away, and hope that this world can get there. So we're going to start by attacking Dante, and unfortunately, he has an Air Force, or Storming Mirror Force. We get to special summon him back again, because Valhalla is a pretty busted card. I do it without the coin flip, just because I'm feeling ballsy. He can't possibly have another copy of Air Force. But during the end phase, he's just going to mill 3, and that's it. We are going to get to attack again, and what do you know? It is a second copy of Air Force. So we get to, I guess, get Time Walk twice in a row. I'm going to go ahead and Terraforming for a Light Barrier here thins the deck a little and ensures that I get the right outcome off of this The World, especially because he has no traps. It's kind of more important here than any other time. Our opponent, unfortunately, also has access to Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning, so I hope he never gets that on. We're going to flip heads, go ahead and summon Hecatrice and start beating him up. We get in for a fatty 1,600 points of damage here. That feels alright, but nowhere near winnable. This EX Light Ruler is just rotting in our hand as he summons an Envoy at the beginning, goes ahead and removes this The World from play, and suddenly we're in a bit of a tight spot because he has also assembled the Lock. So we don't have any way to get out of this Marauding Captain shenanigan until we draw Hecatrice. I figure I can go into a rank 4, I pick 101, and use 101 to get Blackluster Soldier. This, of course, does not break the lock, but does, in fact, allow me to not have to deal with Blackluster Soldier. So I can't really complain about that. He's going to summon Goblinberg, use it to summon Don Zalug, and then go into Castel, getting rid of my 101. I don't feel great about that because now I don't have the ability to 101 his remaining guys down. But since it's back in the extra, I can use it again. We draw a Summoner Monk, which is a prime target for making 101, which we will do now. Get Empress, miss the flip, and then go directly into 101, get the Marauding Captain, and start beating up the remaining cards. I'm feeling pretty in control of this game at this point. Can't imagine a scenario in which I lose healers and misses, so I'm feeling even better. Let's go ahead and attack this guy down. We'll summon the Chariot as well, if we could ever win a coin flip and then end our turn. Unfortunately, he's going to go ahead and draw Raiden. That is not good for him, but becomes much less good for me on his next turn. We do get Chariot this turn and get to beat in for a cool 4,000 or something close to it. Unfortunately, on his turn, he's going to draw Moon Mirror Shield, and we don't have an out in the main deck. So I figure there's another scenario in which I win, and it's he decks himself. Seems very possible just because he doesn't have very many cards remaining, and I'm sure he doesn't, play any kind of shuffle effect back into the deck. So we're just gonna, sit here and hope that we can take 100 points per turn for the rest of the game. Conceivably, it seems possible. He's gonna mill 2 more, feeling pretty good about it. Once he destroys my last card, I can, of course, summon this The World. We're gonna use Empress real quick, and then end our turn. Our opponent is going to summon Don Zalug. That's not great. I'll get the world for that, and it flips tails, which is good for us because it actually makes him draw an extra card. Unfortunately, he recognizes this and attacks into it with the Moon Mirror shielded up Raiden, and then mills 2 more. I'm still feeling alright. I can attack into Zalug, make sure this Raiden stays on board. He can't, really do anything about this, so maybe we win in some whacked out world. Unfortunately, he now makes Emerald, and Emerald adds cards back to the deck, so I don't know if I can actually win this one. He's going to draw a second Raiden, which sounds good on paper until you recognize that means he can just Xyz the Raidens away when he gets to a low amount of cards in the deck. We draw the Agent of a Mystery Venus, and that allows us to basically set up blockers for the rest of the game. I figure maybe this is enough, and we do get to run over Emerald here, so I don't know. I just hate this fucking Moon Mirror Shield. Jesus Christ. So he's going to go ahead and draw a card, use Raiden to attack our 2800, mill another 2 from his deck, and he's got 3 left. So I figure I just have to do this one more time, and I win. I have a lot of blockers. I'll just go ahead and end my turn. He draws Blackluster Soldier, the out, summons Raiden, sinks into 101, and here we go. Now I have to figure out how to get over this board. I do have a Dark Hole in my deck, and that solves most of the problems, so I would prefer to draw it. I get Chariot instead. I can go ahead and shuffle that back for a Hecatrice, set it, but unfortunately that is the end of the game for me because Blackluster Soldier is going to beat my little butthole in. Ugh. So we're back with the deck. Wow, I did not expect it to be that shitty. We went 0-3. Like, that's abysmal. That doesn't really happen that often on this show. Ties of the Brethren being limited means it was kind of painful to have to go in on that strategy. Arcana Force EX, the Light Ruler, was great on paper, and then when we played one game with him, it became immediately clear that he's just god-awful. Too big of a summoning. sink for us to be able to do anything. We have to play the magical mallets because otherwise we'll just draw into the mystical shine balls. I could feel it in my bones, but unfortunately magical mallet is a terrible card that just minuses us all day. We are trying to do too many things with too many bad cards, I believe. The chariots had such low attack that they couldn't get over anything. The empresses were cute, but you could just walk over them a huge percentage of the time. And to be honest, what I find is especially powerful in this sort of metagame is rank 4 plays. We don't really have a good way to constrain rank 4 plays or a way to make very powerful rank 4 plays of our own that are not off of Summoner Monk, so as a result we just end up disadvantaged versus all these decks that can just summon Gold Gadget, make Gear Gigan, and trust me, there are a lot of them. So I would not recommend this deck for advanced format, obviously. I would also not recommend this deck for War of the Worthless. I will go back to the drawing board, retune an Arcana Force deck, and come back to you with something bigger, stronger, sexier, more powerful, and, you know, probably still not tier 1. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a different 10-minute testing here today. I hope you enjoyed watching me roll through Part 3's stands on camera, and most of all, I hope you just enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps me out, and if you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm intermittently on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/monobluetron. Link is in the description. Once more, shouts out to Rank 10 YGO. I'm not trying to steal views. I promise I'm not. I'm not stealing views. Please, I'm not! And finally, if you want to suggest a certain deck or archetype for me to play on this show, I will go ahead and do it if you let me know what you want seen in the comments section below. Other than that, I will see you Tuesday.